it's Phil with Mastercrafted, and I'm here to bring you another battle report for Custodes, Alliance of the Emperor. We have a new challenger that has approached. It is Plague Legion, and we're looking to see if Custodes can do the damage without Caladius grab tanks. So 'cause we got some big demons with some high toughnesses that make things incredibly difficult, and they're going to put us on a lot of battle shocks that we're not used to taking because usually we're alive and fine or the unit is gone entirely. So we have a very interesting matchup here into Bo's Plague Legion. As promised, here's the battle report. We're just going to get right into it. So this is, let's see here, Crucible Battle. So layout 2 for deployment. And this is Mission P, Scorched Earth, Inspired Leadership, Crucible Battle. So Mission P, layout 6, for us. This is one of the missions that we're potentially doing at the RTT on the 27th here down in the Springs, which we will be having coverage from. So we wanted to get as many reps with this as possible. So if you look on the board, I don't have any infiltrators. I have almost everything lined up to the deployment edge because Nurgle Demons doesn't have a lot of shooting. He's got one Soul Grinder, which is kind of scary because there is a lot of flat 3 damage shooting, which pick up a Custodian Guard annoyingly and Wardens annoyingly so. I have started both squads of Venatari and the solo shield captain off the board. If you'll see on the bottom, I have a 2-man of Alaris. I'm going to be splitting those and putting them into Deep Strike, and then I have up in the front, I have a unit of prosecutors that are just hanging out, backed up by a squad of Blade Guard. The Custodian Guard squad down here in the corner, this is Kyriadraxis' squad. And then another squad of Blade Guard. We have one squad of Custodian Guard in reserve with the Venatari and the captain. And this is a Superior Creation captain, so he stands back up on a 2-up. So going into this matchup, I'm already quite concerned because I don't necessarily want to see a lot of these things over and over again because they are incredibly tough, and the only thing that has the rerolls is the Custodian Guard. The Wardens do not. So in this matchup, I end up going first, unfortunately, but he has infiltrated 2 units of Nurglings to try to screen me out as much as possible, but my first draw was no prisoners and marked for death. Obviously, it was not getting marked for death this turn, but we were going to get no prisoners. So the prosecutors came out and killed the Nurglings, and this bottom squad of Custodian Guard popped out and shot the Nurglings that were on that side objective. So as you can see, they're now both gone as we come out, and I must have missed a picture here because what happened next was actually relatively straightforward. My prosecutors got shot to death by a Soul Grinder and a little bit of shooting from the Great Unclean One. The Beast of Nurgles came out to this objective that their Nurglings so kindly scouted and protected them. Their scout moves, so they were able to get up here, and there's a unit of Plague Bearers up at the top that you can sort of see hiding behind this terrain. Overall, on my turn, obviously I just shifted up and I just wanted to get in this pocket on the bottom side, and I was relatively happy staying where I was at. And I did not bring up either of the Lars Custodians. I just brought the other one across so I could screen out as much as I could from my home field as possible, as I didn't want a Great Unclean One, which one of them, as well as Radagast, were in Deep Strike. I didn't want to see either of those at all, especially in my back line. But thankfully, they're such big models, it's not too much of a problem, even with Custodes, to screen them out. So, on Bo's first turn, he got Recover and Cleanse, which he was able to do relatively easily. The only issue is this Great Unclean One down here. He was the one that was doing Recover Assets, and these Plague Bearers were the ones doing Cleanse. And I will show you what happened here in a second, because actually that became a problem for him. On the top, this unit of beasts cleansed here, but he was relatively happy staying off these center objectives. Now, here's the problem. I also got Assassinate, but I got Assassinate and Engage on all fronts, which meant I really had to go after a character or two and try to find them. Now, Lions has an enhancement for giving unit precision, and I don't use it often, but I used it here to ensure I got the assassinate to get through to the character that was leading these plague bearers. The reason this was significant, and I made a mention of it, is these are plague guard. They have advanced and charge. They are a very, very scary unit because they're hitting on twos with sustained, wounding on twos into the plague bearers here because they are strength 7. And they're 2 damage pop, which means every failed one kills plague bearers. What ended up happening was I advanced and charged into these plague bearers. And because Rodriguez, or this great unclean one, was doing recover assets, he did not want to heroic here, could not heroic here into the wardens. And not that it would have made too much of a difference in terms of the amount of damage I would put out, but it was not a win either way. Really sucked for him in terms of having to make this decision. Behind them, I reloaded and I dropped a squad of custodian guard here, just a normal deep strike, because I knew that once whatever came over here to deal with these wardens, I could send these custodian guard up to continue to pressure this natural, which would be really nice. This squad of custodian guard came out and unfortunately only killed the one beast of Nurgle, so there is another one behind that wall, being a pain in the butt. And these plague bearers are still back here as well, causing me issues pushing my natural, which is why I've had to push Bo's natural, because I can't let him push mine and then nothing happen. Now on layout 6, I will say this terrain layout does definitely allow you to aggressively attack your opponent's natural, mainly because he doesn't have any long range shooting that can punish them for hanging out right there. And also overall, custodian guard are really tough, so I can sit in this pocket pretty confidently with them. These guys came up, advanced and charged. I popped the precision um, for the whole unit, and I put him on the character until he died, and then I put him on the rest of the unit, and they were able to pick up between that and the shooting because those spears are assault, to pick up the entire unit of plague bearers, and then I got the mini engage, which I will take, especially because it was something I was doing anyways. So a good turn of aggression and definitely pushing that objective. The other thing that's important to note is because I have a banner in my warden squads, that they are 3 OC apiece. So I knocked him off that objective as well. I hold the center. The only problem is the Beast of Nurgle. He's just off that objective because that objective doesn't go all the way through. So he was just off it. So right now, Bo is only on one objective, which definitely makes a difference for us. Bo's turn going into it. Obviously, this is what it looked like, and he gets contained and no prisoners, which you would think is a very easy thing to get into this situation on the board. Unfortunately, it doesn't turn out to be the case. Bo comes in, he doesn't kill the wardens, he doesn't kill the shield captain, he doesn't kill this squad of custodian guard down here at the bottom, and he puts a lot of time and effort into those things, and unfortunately, none of them die. The captain doesn't even get knocked down with reduce all damage to 1 for a phase. It is significant, has a big impact on the overall. He does bring in another squad of Nurglings, and I feel that this is Bo's go turn, so I bring in my squad of Venatari here down at the bottom because I know what's coming and I need to be able to respond. And the Venatari are great at doing that because they are quite lethal. Okay, he gets containment and no prisoners. He's able to max contain relatively easily. The problem is no prisoners is the issue. So he contains with this Beast of Nurgle that's all the way down at the bottom, and the plague bearers that are up at the top, they contain as well. So he's able to max that, but now is where the hurt comes for the plague league. So right now they're in a position where he is exposed. Both greater unclean ones. Rodriguez is down, but he had to go so far back because he couldn't get close enough to these wardens because he'd have to be on the other side of the wall and walk all the way around. He could have dropped further behind that wall, but then he'd be exposing himself to the custodian guard that are over there, which isn't the end of the world, but he really wanted to buff up in the center and control that objective. But this is where it hurts. So he's able to reduce the wardens down to a two-man or the captain and one additional guy. No, he actually doesn't. I think he only kills one and a half overall between all the shooting and combat that goes in. So definitely not a lot, which is significant for me because it means that the Wardens are still contesting that objective. But here, what ends up happening is I get containment and extend battle lines. So I have a unit of Benatari that come in, and I've already brought up the previous turn one of my Cap or my Lars Terminators. So they drop in. You could see them dropped in both to that corner. And because of Crucible of Battle and the angle, they're both outside the deployment zone. One does the back edge, one does the side edge. So we're able to max contain there, which is very nice. And then we get extend battle lines, which we're doing pretty much inherently because we're going to hold our own and we're going to go after it. So the custodian guard that were in that pocket, they just move out because they want to go after that great unclean one and shoot him a bunch. Because, like I said previously, strength 4 is awful, except for when you have +1 to wound. Then it's much nicer. And it's all 2 damage. So we're able to do a lot of chip damage, which is nice. And that Blade Guard unit is happy staying behind because we have no interest. I have no interest of exposing them unless I absolutely have to, and there's no point to do that right now. Um, they all charge in. The Venatari charge in. The Custodian Guard charge in. The Wardens on the bottom all charge in, and we pick up the Soul Grinder. We do a crap ton of damage to the Great Unclean One, and we do a crap ton of damage to the bottom Great Unclean One, so he is incredibly hurt, and they're in a position now where they're struggling to maintain objectives. Because thankfully, up at the top, the Custodian Guards also go in and pick up the Pox Plague Bearers and the lone piece of Nurgle that's in there as well. So overall, because I was able to get into all three, and with the Custodian Guard, rerolling all wounds, the +1 to wound, the spacing that we're able to maintain, because as you'll notice, he tried to fight me on all three objectives, and Bo and I talked about this during the game and after the game, that you're almost enabling my army rule, and having me fight across all three means I will be able to maintain the distance, and I will be able to like take advantage of that army role, which is really tough. On Bo's turn, he is trying to clamber back here. He forces a couple battle shocks. He goes into the wardens at the bottom, killing a couple more. But now Radagast has to come all the way out to try to engage those Venatari because he needs to take them off the board. But that's what the wardens were waiting for in the bottom because they knew it was coming because that's what they have to get after. So the wardens come up. Even Radagast, he's not necessarily great in combat, but he's able to kill a couple Venatari. But between the Venatari coming around, shooting, charging, believe it or not, the Custodian Guard Squad shoots twice with Kyriadraxis. They put Radagast down to 2 wounds remaining, and then a couple more shots finish him off. Because with invols, I don't really care that you have an invol. I'm just trying to be efficient with my shooting, and we do that, which is insane for a unit of Custodian Guard being able to put a Great Unclean One with the amount of damage that we do down to 2 wounds remaining. This is very, very tough to deal with. And the Wardens are still chugging along. They still have not been killed yet. It is now just a Blade Champ, but he has caused major issues. On Bo's turn, he did get overwhelming in area denial, which is why he did bring Radagast up and the Great Unclean One, so he was able to pull those for a mini area deny because that was just outside of 3 inches of the center of the map. It's not the objective. So you'll see that Lars captain there. He was too far back to deny that. And he did pick up the wardens that were on that objective because um, yeah, they just didn't have enough left. They couldn't survive that long. But he gets a 3 for area denial, or sorry, 2 for area denial and a 3 for overwhelming. But at this point, I've killed every Great Unclean One. Everything is off the board. We are now in just mop-up mode and maximize all the points. So, on my turn, the Custodian Wardens scoot across. They put their shooting into the Blight drones. The Blight Champ charges in, finishes them off because dev wounds are a thing, and Blade Champ is insane. He is so good. I love running them. I love running multiple of them. They're great. And on this turn, we had Defend Stronghold to bring it down. We had already, on this turn, we had picked up both of the the fat boys. So we did get 12 for that, and then we worked defense stronghold, which was really, really nice. And now we're just maxing primaries because we do control two, and we're just looking to burn one eventually. Who does get a sabotage and storm hostile? Unfortunately, storm hostile is not happening, but he is able to sabotage with that lone beast of Nurgle all the way at the bottom because it is outside the deployment zone, and that successfully goes off. And then on turn 5, this actually is quite entertaining. We do max primaries, we do burn an objective in the center. We get behind enemy lines, which we are able to get with that top custodian guard squad. They advance over and are able to get wholly within the deployment zone with a nice advance roll. And then we do get recover assets, and the Venatari that is in my opponent's in Bo's deployment zone recovers assets, which is good as well. Now, on Bo's turn, he gets secure no man's land and assassinate. And you're looking at this board and saying, well, there's no way. There's no way. Well, unfortunately, it does happen that the Blade Champ was forced to take a battle shock. He failed said battle shock. They did D3 mortal wounds and rolled the max of 3, killing Blade Champ on his 3 wounds remaining. And then the Beast of Nurgle fell back or moved onto the objective, taking that, getting 2 of the 5 for secure no man's land. So ending with a nice 10 points on primary, unable to burn anything because he did fall back there, but 10 points on that on primary, and he gets secure and he gets assassinated with a cheeky final battle shock, resulting in a dead Blade Champion, which did hurt my soul a little bit, but I know Bo really enjoyed ending the game like that. So that is how the game finished. It ended 90-73. Overall, talking about it with Bo after and stuff like that, Big Legion doesn't necessarily kill things. And that's okay. You'll be watching one of our videos soon, hopefully, where we talk about list building. Just because it doesn't kill things doesn't mean the army isn't effective. But in this situation, we have to play a little bit differently. Bo tried to fight me on 3 objectives and stretch it out, and all that does is promote my army's ability to hit and wound a lot better. So overall, he really just needed to have that kind of like triangle of power on his home, and then on his natural, and then kill anything that comes out onto the middle objective. Maybe put some Nurglings out there, some Plague Bears, whatever the case is. You got to put things out there that are going to actually prevent someone from rapid ingressing from it. But also, you want to just make sure that they're not allowed to burn that objective beforehand, because he had bottom of 5. So really, he should have been playing in a much more controlled game, because if he got to bottom of 5 and the score was even, he was going to win that game most likely, because he could battle shock, he can knock me off objectives, he can go do his primaries and secondaries, and I really can't respond to almost any of it. So really interesting there, really interesting matchup. I do love playing into Plague Legion because it is such a unique way to play the game, but it did come out for a win for the Lions, which was awesome. We love playing 40K, and we love playing this new detachment. So I'm excited to bring it to a tournament very, very soon. But as of right now, I'm just enjoying playing 40K. If you have any questions or thoughts or anything you want to add, please include them in the comments. I would love to read them. But yeah, I can't wait. Make sure you please join our Discord if you'd like to. I'm on there, as well as Lane, and then all the people that have come on for strat reserves and come on to speak. They're on there as well, and they are more than willing to answer any of your questions or just talk about 40K, which is something we love to do. And last but not least, don't forget, victory is a given. It's forged. Have a great night, guys.